to see about the structure of an organization within the management theory and practice. So what does the structure of an organization means? It is simply the logical arrangement of all the people within the organization with the one and only objective of having the completion of the objectives of the organization. As simple as that. Next we have four characteristics for this. One is the hierarchy or the structure of an organization should be in such a way that it should be simple and unambiguous. So minimum number of chain of command, so it is like unity of command, unity of direction. Okay, next is it should be flexible and adaptable. So there must be there is going to be the change continuously, dynamically. The changes are going to become which our the existing structure should be able to adapt. So in that way the current organization structure should be maintained. Next is the clarity of roles. So when a new person or the existing employee sees the hierarchy, he should be clear with whom he is going to be reporting, or from whom he is going to get the orders, or who are the people whom that specific person is going to coordinate with or subordinate with. Okay, next, involvement of top management. So it means that participation of top management is crucial for the development of organization. So the hierarchy should include the top management. That's it. Okay, so that was the characteristics. Next, moving towards the principle. So in this principle for effective structures, we have most of the principle that we got from the Henry Fayol's management principle. Okay, so one is the division of work, that is same task should be given for the for each person, so that after a certain duration a person could get an expertise on the work, and with that the amount of time or effort that is kept on a work should be reduced. That's how they want the improvement in the efficiency. Next we have unity of command, so that every employee should get instructions only from one boss, so there is no chaos or confusion of whose aim or whose objective has to be completed. Okay, next we have principle of departmentalization. So this focusing on proper segregation of departments. Next we have principle of authority. So here it focuses on saying that employee should not always be given the work, but he should all work in the sense generally an employer asks the employee to do certain tasks, so that we call as responsibility. But if the employee is doing the same task again and again, and after some time because of that division of work that employee is getting a good expertise, then we can have some authority given to him, so that he can handle that sort of task. He can delegate the task to his subordinate people, and then he can approve it. So that's how we delegate the authority, which not only what we can say it is not only like the appreciation done for the employee, but it is good for the employee, so that he is also able to understand, okay, because I am getting expertise on this matter, I am being appreciated and I have been recognized. So that's how encouragement is also done. So that was principle of authority. Next we have span of management. So span of management says that when people or we can say managers who are at the same level should be having the uniform number of people in their teams. That was the common perception. Then we have certain factors like what are the projects that each team is dealing with. So there are other factors, but if there is no such different factors, then we want the uniform distribution to be done at each level of hierarchy. Next we have scalar change. So scalar change simply says that we have n number of departments in an organization, so there should be there should be no obstacle when a person from one department wants to talk with a person of another department. Okay, so it should be like open communication within the not within but among the departments. Okay, next we have unity of purposes. So today there might be one boss, tomorrow there might be another boss. Irrespective of all that, the objective of the organization or team should remain same. That is what unity of perception. Next we have principle of flexibility. So this says that for sure the changes are going to come, and the organization structure should be flexible enough to adapt those changes. Then we have principle of synergy. So this says that group work is much more efficient than compared to individual works. Then principle of team spirit. So this encourages people to work with the team to implement the principle of synergy. So that was our principle for effective structures, and now we have guidelines for forming the organization structure. So guidelines while forming organization structure is our goals and objectives should be clear and based on the type of organization we should choose the hierarchy. It should not be like one organization is in good position so we should adopt the same. It should depend on various factors like the skill set as of now that you are having, okay, your future plans, your existing plans, the phase that you have faced previously, the size of the organization, the market of the organization. There are n number of other things which you should take help for determining the appropriate structure for the organization, then defining a scalar chain of command. So this says who should report to whom, who should coordinate with whom, okay, who can meet with whom in case of any intention of meeting, okay. So it might be the meeting initiation with the top level of people at the top management. So seeing on the scalar chain command, everyone should be clear with his question. So that what scalar chain of command means. Next we have models for the structurizing. One is a 6-box organization model. So this focusing on evaluating or addressing the issues which you can come across. So framework means which helps us in certain in easing certain type of tasks. So this framework, this 6-box organization model, what it does is based on the 6 factors that we are going to read now, in that domain areas, if that framework identifies any kind of issues that brings this issue into in the eyes of the management, so as to find the solution, okay. One is the purpose. So based on the purpose, the structure of organization is created. So in that purpose, if there is any change, and then a framework identifies what are the problem that it could get or it could have got already, so that issues will come in the purpose. Then structure, rewards, so leadership, helpful mechanisms, relationship building. So all these factors will help in monitoring or controlling or bringing the changes in the current structure, okay. So that was 6-box organization model. So basically, if you can see on the factors, it is very simplified. So it doesn't consider various other factors. Now what are all those factors that we are going to cover under the next model, okay. So it clearly covers only the high level but not at the in depth of what issues that actually could come across when the structure is formed and it is being implemented and various people are in that positions of the hierarchies, okay. So here if you can see premises of Weisberg's model, which is nothing but 6-box organization model. So one is formal versus informal system, in which the formal thing deals with the rules, regulation, policies that is to be fitted in the structure, and then informal things, how the employees are going to behave, okay, and what kind of behaviors are going to occur and what has to be dealt with, and any rules that has to be kept for the informal system as well. So that was the premises for the formal and informal system. Next we have fit between organization and environment. So for this, the foundation principle that is considered is the more good the environment is, the more efficiency the employees working in that organization can provide. So what are the changes that is to be included in this model is decided based on the current performance and the performance in the previously or the upcoming thing. So the performance between the various time duration, based on that some changes are brought in the model. So that is the second premises. So as we can see, these premises are very helpful in identifying what are the changes need to be done. Similarly, as we have studied previously, the purpose, okay. So how the purpose is helping in deciding what is the structure should be. So purpose is like the goal and aim and objective of the organization, okay. And then while forming the structure, it is made sure that the purpose that the objective that is decided should fit in the structure, okay. Then we have reward. So while deciding for the rewards, incentives and all the stuff, this principle is kept as the foundation, that more the transparent thing, transparently it is kept, transparently in the sense avoiding any kind of bias, okay. If the person is working hard, his incentives should be given accordingly. So if that kind of fair thing is kept, it should again help in the efficiency in encouraging the employee who does work hard. So if you can see, we have 6 boxes, right, and out of the 6 boxes, 5 boxes will be around the circle and the leadership box will be in the center. Now why that is kept in the center is because the leadership box is going to watch out on all the other 5 boxes, and it is going to identify any issues, conflicts, okay, and then it is going to monitor and will try to rectify, because each of the other boxes are very important for the integrity of the organization. Okay, then coming to helpful mechanism, so here all the process that is the work of the employee, okay, all such things which is the work of the employee as well as the organization is considered to be the helpful mechanism. So for examples, we have the MRP, we have information systems, budgeting, okay, controlling tools. So all those kind of things will coming under the helpful mechanism. Now the final box that we are studying is the relation building. So in this relation building, we have 3 kind of relations considered by WIS board. One is the individual relationships, the second one is the relation between the departments, and the final one is the relation between the individual and his job. So the principle behind this box is that the more good this relation is, the less the conflicts will come. So that was the principle behind the relationship building. So yeah, that was our 6 boxes and premises. Finally the limitations, so oversimplification because not all the factors are considered, and then we have insufficiency as all information is not gathered, inadequacy, again attributes are not considered. So this model we have studied for the structure, formation of structure of organization. So the second such model is the matrix or mixed model. So here again we are going to study, so what is the difference between the normal one and this one is, so first we'll study about the matrix or mixed model, then we are going to study some of the other models which doesn't have this much complexity, but which is again of no use because that cannot be implemented in life. But matrix model is very much relevant to the life. Okay, so here we can see it involves employee from different departments to work together. Okay, functional managers, so if you can see in the diagram, functional managers are this line which are responsible for a specific department. Okay, and the project manager, okay, so functional managers are what we can say are responsible for specific department, project management manager is responsible for the specific project. So here how it goes is, suppose there are 4 projects going on, so it's not like we have to fill all the boxes with all the employees. So in that case, when the one of the project is done, the employees will be fired because then they don't have any other projects. So that will create an insecurity, and the company's name and the employees insecurity will get damaged. Okay, so for that how it is handled is with the help of matrix model. So here they fill one of the position, and they suppose in the first department we have 10 people. So because the first project is coming to picture first, more concentration will be done on the first department, first projects. So as the time goes, the people are shifted from top to down in the each functional department. Okay, like in the first name block we will see only first column. Okay, in the name one we have 10 people, and as the work goes on, some people gets to shift it to the next project because the workforce required on the first project gets decreases. So similar thing will be imitated in the other columns as well. Okay, but here we are going to see something like, if there is a person in the row 1 column 1, he has to report to his functional manager, that is a department manager, and also to the project manager. So what are the advantages and disadvantages that we are going to see, but yeah, overall concept was we will not hire everyone at the same time to fill up all the boxes, but we are going to make sure that even the employees have the security, and with less number of resources all the projects are also covered. So yeah, advantages is sound decisions, developing our skills, effective strategic planning, optimistic utilization of resources, and team effort. Okay, and then disadvantages is increase in workload because there are multiple projects, and high operational cost as they have to manage all the things with the same number of employees. So the shifting thing, all those things will come into picture. Next is absence of unity of command, because here the instructions will be coming from the department head as well as the project head. Okay, and then the complexity is more. So this was like complexity is more, but it is something which can be implemented in the real life. Okay, then we have other organizational models. So first is the line organization structure. So these 4 we will study, which is not so feasible, not so feasible in the sense to every organization, but again it depends on the requirement. So first is the line organization structure. So here there will be one person. If he thinks that workload is more, he'll hire another as a subordinate, and if that person also feels that he has a workload higher, he will hire one more person under his subordinate. So that's how a single line will be going on. Okay, so authority will be going from top to down, and we can say that unity of command is there and unity of direction is there. Next we have line and staff organizing structure. So unlike line organizing structure where at each level of hierarchy we have one person, unlike that in line and staff organizing structure, what happens is, suppose we have a president who is at the first level of hierarchy, then under him we have not the employees, we can say we have multiple departments, and each department is supposed controlled by one person. That person, based on his sub departments, he will hire we can say different person for his sub department. So that's how line and then staff at his sub department level. So that's how line and staff organizing structure works. Next we have functional organizing structures. So in functional organization structure, we see we try to form a heterogeneous groups, that is each person from each department will be selected, and that's how the groups will be formed, and these groups will then be managed and guided by the people at the top management. So that is what functional organization structure, that is people from different functionality or departments will be grouped and then they will be guided. Next and last we have divisional organization structure. So this is the extension of functional organization structure. So that is groups will be formed heterogeneously, but again we have some more factors, like groups will be again divided based on the geography, the size of the market they are going to dealing with. So there are some more attributes that is appended for the division of group. So that was our organization models, and our final concept is the Etzioni organization theory. So here we see what Etzioni, he is an American sociologist, so who says that organization are classified based on the degree of power that the top people in the hierarchy are enjoying or are having. Okay, so how that power is different, how that power is given to the top level management. Based on that we can say what is the model or what is the basis of the formation of the structure. Okay, so those three powers and how the type and each power will have a type of involvement. Okay, so those three powers are coercive power, utilitarian power, normative power, and each power will have its corresponding involvement. Okay, so coercive power, which focuses on getting the work done, okay, by hitting or fear, force, okay, like example prisons, military training. So this kind of coercive power and its corresponding involvement is the alienation involvement. So here people who have done something wrong previously, those kind of people come here, and with the help of coercive power the things are get it done. Okay, next we have utilitarian power. So this utilitarian power involves in the calculative involvement. So what utilitarian power means is getting the work done with the help of rewards, incentives. Okay, so its involvement is the calculating involvement, which the people who are doing work, they also make sure that if I do this kind of work I will get this much amount of money or incentive. So that how calculation is done and the work is done. Next we have normative power. So they are kind of meditative people, so they seek intrinsic awards instead of the materialistic things. So they influence the behavior of individuals. So these people having the normative power, they are called as moral involvement. So they involves positive orientation of high intensity. So employee is committed to society when organization employs moral power. So they are more towards the intrinsic happiness. So for each power we had one kind of involvement. So that's how Etzioni states that based on this the structure or the development of the structure can be done or identify the existing one. Now finally we have the last topic, which says factors involving the organization structure. So first is the environment in which we do the SWOT analysis. So SWOT is strength, the weakness, opportunities, threats. So this aggregates factors and helps us to identify the dots, we can say, or the scenarios that could come in the each boxes of the SWOT. Okay, Next we have organization size, strategy, and technology that is there in the company or the company is dealing with. So based on these factors, again the decision making of the organization structure depends, right? So that was our final topic. So if you have any queries with respect to structure of organization, please write down in the comment section. Thank you.